UNICEF reported in 2006 that conflicts in the last decade have killed an estimated 2 million children and left another 6 million disabled, 20 million homeless, and over 1 million separated from their parents. These so-called wars of destabilization rupture the fabric of life that supports healthy child development and sever families and extended social networks. They also interrupt service systems and often feed deep ethnic and political divides. Studies have shown that exposure to violence and trauma in childhood increases aggression and losses to attachment security. Psychological trauma is extreme stress which renders the individual emotionally, physically, or cognitively overwhelmed. Research suggests that trauma, an inherent component of conflict zones, can have significant impacts on attachment security. When exposed to traumatic situations, children experience a loss of sense of mothers and fathers as reliable protectors and disturbed perceptions of who is safe and who is dangerous. Further study has shown that exposure to community violence increases children's social cognition supporting aggression, and therefore increases their aggressive behavior. Children are especially affected by the loss of a caregiver or violence directed towards a caregiver. There is also an increase in trauma for a young child if separated from parents. Multiple experiences of trauma, unsurprisingly, have greater impact as well. This being said, it is evident that war is especially traumatic. While single events such as natural disasters are easier to regain stability from as a young child, repeated exposure to conflict has a greater influence and more severe consequences. There are also gender differences that are crucial to recognize. Females are more likely to internalize trauma and also are more likely to display symptoms of depression and PTSD. Males, on the other hand, are more likely to react externally and are seen to display more signs of aggression than females in response to trauma. A protective factor to lessen the impact of exposure to violence on development and adjustment in children is resilience. There are 3 sets of factors thought to relate to the development of resilience in children: attributes of the individual child, attributes of a child's family, and characteristics of the larger social environment. As far as the individual goes, research suggests that various protective qualities are high intelligence, internal locus of control, good coping skills, and an easygoing temperament. Studies have identified 6 themes that help children overcome the trauma of war: a sense of agency, social intelligence, empathy, and affect regulation, shared experience, caregiving features, and community connection, a sense of future, hope, and growth, a connection to spirituality, and morality. Attachment relationships are critical for helping children cope with difficult circumstances. Longitudinal studies have shown that the existence of a supportive relationship with at least one caring adult outside of a troubled home is associated with better social and emotional outcomes in even the most disadvantaged children. The presence of 2 parents, compared to only 1, also has been shown to have a stronger positive impact. On the community level, higher levels of social support in children exposed to severe violence are associated with reduced risks of internalizing emotional problems. This effect is seen to be greater in girls than in boys. Social support is correlated with lower levels of PTSD symptoms. Also, caregiver mental health may mediate the availability of social support in primary attachment relationships available to the child. Parents can either help children in stressful situations by acting as protective shields or hurt them by handling stress poorly themselves. On an even wider scale, it is noted that distal settings such as schools and neighborhoods affect the mental health and adjustment of war-affected youths. It has been shown that restoring educational activities helps children by restoring predictability and stabilizing social supports for children. This can also instill a sense of hope. Other aspects that support resilience in war-affected youths are religious institutions, access to healthcare, shelter, good nutrition, mental health services, social services, and legal services. Political and cultural beliefs can both indirectly and directly shape the access to these protective factors by influencing parents and communities who have immense impact on the environment in which resilience or maladjustment in children can flourish. Over 50% of those affected by conflict are children, yet under 3% of humanitarian funding goes to protect them. 500 million people live in countries at risk of instability and conflict. Knowing this, how can we promote resilience?